What secret are you currently hiding that you're willing to share online? Story 1. I've started to, on occasion accidentally but on purpose, not hang up my phone correctly when getting off of a call with my daughter-in-law. I then proceed to talk to my husband about how much I enjoy talking to her, how lovely I think she is, how glad I am that our son chose her, and whatever other boost I may think she needs. She doesn't have any family that uplifts her, just the kind that tears her down. I started doing this after my son told me about his wife coming to him in full-on snot tears because I had once butt-dialed her while talking to my husband about her. She stayed on the line to hear what I really thought of her, expecting the worst because that's been her experience of family. Apparently she was quite touched by the things I said, and my son told me it gave her a confidence boost that lasted weeks. So I do it more often now. Neither of them has any idea I do it on purpose though. They just think I'm getting old and worse at managing my tech. You are that rarest of mother-in-law, the good kind. There's also something about people who feign elderly confusion to get away with things that tickles my funny bone. My grandparents have been doing it since they were in their 50s. Your comment made me remember working with an older lady during my first job at McDonald's. If you ever asked about the grill, she'd always say, "I forget." I remember coming in one day, and the guy we had on the grill had to run to the restroom and she needed sausage down soon. I looked and caught her dropping some. She looked at me, put her fingers to her lips, and smiled. She eventually quit, but came back 6 months later, and I remember asking in broken Spanish where she went and why she came back. With the same smile, she said, "Home." But I got bored. It was great working with her. Both of us barely speaking the other's language, but still doing things to make one another laugh. I haven't thought about her in a minute, so thank you for the memory jog. Story 2. I have a sweet one. My father is convinced that lilies were my late mother's favorite flower because their wedding venue was filled to the brim with them, and she was supposed to be the one who picked the flowers. He got her lilies for every birthday, anniversary, and whenever she was in the hospital. My mother was in poor health most of her life. When she passed away, the funeral was full of lilies, and he still sometimes puts a vase of lilies besides her urn. The thing is, my mother once confessed to me that lilies weren't her favorite flower. She was fine with them, but she preferred morning glories and sunflowers. My domineering grandmother, however, told her those weren't classy enough for a wedding, and hounded her about it until my mom gave in and let her pick lilies. Mom was actually pretty wounded by how dramatic the floral arrangements ended up being. Another big showy way for her mom to say, "I'm right and you're wrong." When she later voiced this, my grandmother brushed it off with, "Please, no one's going to remember a thing about your wedding." But my dad remembered. He got her lilies every day of their honeymoon. And by the end of the week, she'd gone from annoyed to deeply touched. He didn't know the backstory. He just wanted to make her happy, and in doing so, he kind of stripped the negative association away from them. She told me she liked that he gave her lilies more than the flowers themselves. They turned from a symbol of being ignored to a sign that somebody was thinking of her happiness. She swore me to secrecy, and I'll take it to the grave. Rest in peace, Mom. Similar story, I had one surviving grandparent. My dad's mom, alive when my kid was born. I really wanted to name my daughter after her. My wife hated the name because someone in her life she didn't like shared it. I had a conversation about names and my grandma said, "Oh, don't do that, I always hated my name." So we ended up going with a variation of that name, and it's beautiful. My grandma cried when I told her about the compromise. She hated the root name but loved the compromise. Ha! The same thing happened with chickens and my stepmother. We were convinced that she collected chickens. Everybody in our family thought that she accumulated chicken collectible things. So every birthday, Mother's Day, and Christmas we got her something with a chicken on it. Chicken figurines, chicken dish towels, chicken planters, chicken pictures, chicken everything. One day she was opening presents and she said, annoyed, "Oh great, another chicken. I wish people would stop sending me all these chickens. I don't know why they keep giving me chickens." And our jaws dropped. I said, "Because you collect chickens. You love chickens." And she said, "Oh sure, I like chickens, but I don't collect them. People just keep giving them to me and I just keep putting them up on shelves." This reminds me of my parents. My dad always worked the night shift and slept during the day. Their routine was Dad would make coffee, and when Mom got up, they would sit together and drink a cup of coffee before my dad went to bed. My mom hated the way my dad made coffee, and never said a word. Every day when he'd go to bed, she would dump the rest of the pot and brew it how she liked it. She never wanted him to feel unappreciated by his gesture. She drank that nasty coffee for 27 years until she passed away. She never swore me to secrecy, so I told him after she passed, so that he would know just how much she loved him. Story 3. I am the 7 accounts that donate to my cousin's streams. Little man needs something positive, and it's better if he thinks it's from internet strangers and not a sympathetic cousin. I do this with my son. He has made hundreds of YouTube videos over the last 3 years, and I have been paying for views, subs, and supporting his channel to help keep his spirits up when his channel growth slows down. I could never tell him, but it's a hobby he's very passionate about, and I just want to support him. I do this with my boyfriend. He's new to streaming on Twitch, and I was his first sub as soon as he hit affiliate. He didn't know it was me. I try to keep the stream on and start conversations in chat to help others engage. I want him to succeed, so I try my best to support him at his goals. From someone who streams and someone who has seen people get popular from things like this in the past, thank you. So many times people join to be nice and helpful and participate, but they rarely stick around. What's a generous moment for the people who join, follow, whatever, becomes a feeling of making it for the person. And when people drift away, it can easily screw with people and cause them to try and do what they did before to get the success, often to the point of frustration and thinking they aren't good enough any longer. Glad that your cousin has someone nice looking out for them, and hope they continue streaming for as long as they enjoy it. Story 4. I told my best friend I won a holiday in a raffle and wanted her to come with me free of charge. We stayed in a nice hostel, did lots of fun activities, and I paid for it all with a prepaid credit card from the raffle. I didn't win anything. I booked it all myself and paid everything for her because she deserved a break and I knew she couldn't afford it, nor would she have accepted me paying for her. I would do it again 10 times over. She deserves the absolute world. Damn, what a great thing to do. I'm really glad you are not a greedy person. Right now, I would give my right nut to be able to take my wife out somewhere for a weekend with just us. I couldn't imagine it. We are barely buying groceries right now, but one of these days, she will get what she deserves, and I know she will love it. So I love positive stuff, and this just hit the spot. Story 5. In 6th grade, I pissed in a bottle of Coca-Cola that had a quarter of its contents remaining. You see, this a-hole of a bully often tries to forcefully take my snack during recess, so I handed him that bottle of cola. He did make a comment that it had an awful aftertaste, but nothing too crazy of a reaction. At that moment, I felt like I would burst into laughter, but if I did, he would suspect something was wrong with the cola. I also knew I would be in a world of trouble if the teachers knew I did something horrendous like that, so I kept my mouth shut and walked away. To this day, I haven't seen him since the 6th grade, and I'm currently in my first year of college. My friends and I literally did the same thing to our bully, left a bagged lunch on the back seat of the school bus, meanwhile laughed our asses off as the bully merrily drank and ate his freebie, as he called it. A very similar thing happened to me, except instead of peeing in cola, I was making a potion in a milk bottle. This was around the time Harry Potter came out. I was grabbing random things around the school and playground like dirt, hand soap, leaves, etc. until a group of bullies came and took it from me, thinking it was chocolate milk. They played monkey in the middle with me as I was trying to frantically get it back, and I was telling them, no, don't drink it, until one finally opened it and took a big gulp. He was immediately disgusted, but then tattled on me and somehow I ended up with a suspension. This was the 4th grade. Ah yes, school. One of the first places we learn about the arbitrary nature of human applied justice, where one learns that the punishment isn't about the bullies or the milk or you, but in having to come to the attention of those in charge at all. This is one of the key things that broke religious indoctrination for me, that those in charge, these respect your elders types, are capricious and petty, and very often dumber than a bag of hair. Then tell me they're put there by God to guide me, and that they know some special truths that justify me being under their authority. No. Holy crap, I have a pretty relevant piss story. When I was like 6, me and all my hood rat friends were playing, and this kid named Keenan stabbed me in the eye with a stick. He was bigger and 3 years older than me, so I couldn't do much. The following day, he asked if I was thirsty and gave me a cup of lemonade. It was warm and smelled like piss. I threw that crap right in his face and took off running. Somehow, that got me respect from the older kids, and I was protected from that day forward. Story 6. I'm not colorblind. When I was very young, I didn't understand what colorblindness was. My dad is colorblind, and I thought that automatically meant I was too, and apparently everybody did. I was maybe in high school before I actually took a test, and I aced it. But by then, all my friends had been buying colorblind-compatible versions of board games, and we had all sorts of inside jokes about being colorblind. Honestly, it's been a bonding moment with my friends, so I just haven't told them, and I've kept up the ruse. For about 15 years now. Colorblind here. It's not really bad, just some colors look the same and some desaturated colors look gray. I've been living like this for so long that I don't like playing with colorblind settings on video games. Some board games give me trouble, but I usually just request that only one of the troubled colors, purple and gray as I call them, be used, or tell everyone to feel free to call me out if I'm interacting with the wrong colored piece. Ha, nice. When he was young, my son would always dress in odd color combos, shirts and shorts. One day he came downstairs and my wife was like, "What are you, colorblind?" Immediately the last 9 to 10 years made sense and we had him do an online test. Here's the thing though, I've always thought he has exaggerated how severe it was. From hearing him talk about it, his world is shades of gray with oranges and yellows. It would not surprise me if this was not the case. His sister also agrees, and we've tried to very subtly test him now and again. Story 7. My husband has large feet. Large enough that there are only a few places I can buy him shoes. And since the in-person place near me closed down, they're pretty much all online. All this to say, his shoes are expensive. He also grew up poor, like the kitchen floor was his bedroom poor. He stopped being able to find his shoe size in stores before he was in high school, and before he met me, he always only had one pair of shoes at a time, and sneakers were his everyday work/dress shoes. He even worked fast food jobs in regular sneakers because he couldn't find non-slips in his size. And because getting each pair was so difficult and costly, he'd often wear his shoes until they had holes in the soles before replacing them. When he was studying to be a mechanic, I got him a pair of steel-toed boots for his birthday. I splurged and got a good brand that would last him years. He recognized the brand and knew what they sold for, and he demanded I return them. He was planning on squeezing into cheaper, smaller boots and dealing with it. So I lied, saying I had bought them months before during a sale. Got him at 40% off. Then signed up for all their stuff for an additional 20% off. I had paid full price. I've bought him sale shoes several times since then. One time he even cried because I had gotten him a second pair of sneakers well before his old ones needed to be replaced. His shoes kept getting wet from yard work that he was doing, and he'd have no choice but to wear wet shoes around. His last pair of work boots showed up with the first pair of sandals he has owned in over 25 years because there was a BOGO sale that I totally made up. I just wanted to get him sandals because we camp a lot, and him using camp shoes without sandals always grossed me out. But I had never managed to find a pair in his size until then. Boy howdy, this made me tear up a bit. I grew up cardboard box as our kitchen table poor, and the third boy in the family, so I never had new clothes, or even clothes that really fit because my brothers were much taller. I'm doing well now, but I was in my 30s before I owned a second pair of sneakers prior to the current pair falling apart, aka mowing shoes. Even as I started making more money, it felt ostentatious to have a second pair. You can only wear one at a time, right? Early 30s, my lady realized I wouldn't and bought me a nice pair of sneakers plus a $150 pair of dress shoes as I'd gotten a promotion and would be in front of clients. I didn't think I really cared about shoes until I opened them and started sobbing. Turns out there were decades of poverty-induced shame and trauma swimming around inside, and that kind of act helped me start to let go of things I didn't even know I was carrying. It took some time and reflection to realize all of the other facets of my life that my experience as a kid was affecting, but my path to healing started that day with those shoes. As a fellow once on the receiving end of the same gift from a similar background, please know that you've given him much more than a few pairs of shoes. Women always think I have a lot of shoes for a guy. I do. I can't throw a pair away until they're unwearable. I used to get one pair a year and I had to make them last, even if my feet grew or whatever. So as an adult, I like to have different shoes to wear for different occasions. Still a fanatic about keeping shoes clean and in good shape just in case. Recently tossed a pair of 12-year-old shoes, and it was hard because deep down, 14-year-old me was like, hey, hang on to those just in case we need them. Story 8. I am a teacher. and I am off for the summer. I get to spend all that time with my daughter, age 4, and my son, who is not quite 1 yet. My wife works full-time. My son is just starting to talk, and my wife and I have a friendly competition going to try to get him to say dada or mama for the first time. What she doesn't know is that while she's at work, I spend the day talking about her and saying the word mama a lot. We have been working on it together for weeks. The other day, she walked in the door after getting home from a long day, and he looked at her and said, "Mama," clear as day. She was so happy and rubbed it in my face, playfully, that he said mama first. Even did a little happy dance. I'll never tell her. As a dude with a 7-month-old who has had friendly jokes with my wife about the same topic, hearing him say ma is a delight. We haven't classified any as his first words yet, but I know it's going to be a mama, and as sad as it makes me, it's not going to be dada. It melts my heart. I too have been constantly saying mama with him. Dude, I did this with our daughter. When I was with my wife, I would joke around and say dada, and ooh, she's gonna say dada first to my wife. Every morning when I took my daughter to daycare, I would say mama to her the whole time. Play songs that had mama in them, like the mama, can you say mama's name? Then when I would go pick her up from daycare, I would do the same. The first time she said mama, she said it before dada. My wife teared up, and it's a secret that I'm going to take to the grave. She deserved that moment. Story 9. I haven't been able to get over my dad's death. Everyone has moved on, and it takes everything I have to get out of bed. I miss him so much. Don't feel bad. It's been 14 years since my brother passed, and it's still hard. This made me cry a bit. The 19-year mark is coming up for my brother's death anniversary, and I was never allowed to heal. It happened during Christmas break my freshman year of college, and I was told getting back to college would help. My mom left the country on a vacation, and my dad uninvited me to his family vacation because I couldn't miss math class. I was drunk nearly every day for almost a decade after that because everyone else dealt with it already. Crazy that my parents didn't think I needed therapy even though I watched him die and had to plan the funeral because my parents couldn't even be in the same room together without fighting. I missed my brother's funeral because I felt it would be best to get back to work and bury myself, but I had to tell him why he was in the hospital and that he wouldn't be leaving. Had to make the decisions myself because my father was a mess, and my mom couldn't come to terms with it. Not something I should have had to do. I didn't take the time initially to heal, and I've come to the conclusion that I may never, and that's okay. Some wounds we may not heal from. Be well, friend, and I'm sorry for your loss. I lost my mom 2 years ago. Everyone told me it would get easier, and there are days when it is easier, but it's always there. I'm now facing the possibility of losing my dad in the near future. And having always been closer to my dad than my mom, I will 1000% lose my crap when it inevitably happens. It's not so much that it gets easier. You just don't think of it as much. Your dad wouldn't want you to be miserable. He'd want you to have the life he always dreamed you would have. My dad passed away a few years ago, and my mother a few years before that. You don't move on from something like that. You learn to deal with it as you live your life. Some days living with it means you will have days where your grief overwhelms you seemingly without provocation, and you can barely function. On other days, you'll be okay. Remembering the good times and the memories of their love will be a booster. As time goes on, you'll get stronger and learn to deal with the difficult days. I advise you to lean on your friends and loved ones as you go through this. They've been an invaluable source for my own grief. Or hell, shoot me a DM and I'll be happy to lend an ear, as someone who knows exactly what you're going through. Be well, friend. Story 10. That I have prostate cancer. I have told my siblings and my next-door neighbor, who also has it. We compare treatment options and progress. He chose radiation while I am considering surgery, but I feel like I would be garnering sympathy if I shared it with more people than I know. My therapist told me yesterday it's completely fine for adults to ask for compliments and sympathy. So what if people think you're fishing for them? You are fighting an immensely hard battle. You deserve sympathy and kind words. I wish you all the luck in the world. I recently beat stage 4 colon cancer. It took me a long time to tell people I was close with aside from my immediate family. Once I started telling people, it felt great. There was a weight lifted and I found the support incredibly helpful. Knowing I had a team cheering for me helped with the positivity I needed to make it through. Plus, that team stepped up when I had 2 surgeries and needed help with meal prep, yard work, etc. Tell people when you're ready, but you'll be happy you did. You're not in this fight alone. You might want to look up Dr. Eric Small out of UCSF in California. They're basically leading the research on prostate cancer treatment, and one of the new drugs, which is a monoclonal antibody, 177LU-PSMA-617, paired with immunotherapy, is showing promising results. If you just Google him or USCF prostate cancer trials or the drug I listed, it will come up. You might not be a candidate yet, as your condition may not be the worst yet. If it's any consolation, the treatment and detection for prostate cancer has gotten remarkably better in the last 50 years. My father-in-law is 15 years past his original diagnosis, whereas his dad and granddad both passed away within 10 years of the diagnosis. My father-in-law got the surgery as he was stage 4 already when it was detected. It definitely impacts quality of life, but he's been doing great. The biggest side effect we notice is he's a bit more moody than before. The drugs and losing your prostate impact your hormone levels, so just be prepared for that. And hopefully the people around you can give you some more grace. Story 11. Oh damn, a lot of these are really dark. I'm sorry for all of you and hope you get people that help you. My secret is that I am in love with my roommate, but I'm too afraid to tell her. Don't tell her. It won't go well. Don't ask her out on a date. The whole confess your love thing never works unless she already has feelings for you, in which case there are much better options. Your only shot is to make moves that would allow the relationship to develop organically. Invite her to go places just the 2 of you, but nothing romantic. Plan out a fun day that's entirely focused on things you enjoy. Your goal is to seem like a fun and enthusiastic person with their own stuff going on. And you just happen to want to include her because she seems like she would enjoy them also. You have to maintain the status quo of your existing relationship. Too big a shift too soon and you'll scare her off. Focus on yourself, do more for yourself, and gradually invite her along for the ride more and more often. If she ever questions you, say that you just like spending time with her. If she's into you, you'll know. If not, you'll eventually figure it out. This way you can maintain that you are just being friendly and not mess up your living situation if it doesn't work out. Story 12. Sometimes I'm grateful that I woke up blind. I was a total workaholic and going blind was a nightmare that first summer. But the fact I couldn't work in nursing anymore, especially post-COVID, did wonders for my mental health. I also realized how much I love hanging out with my 3 sons. I didn't know how much I loved their company until I wasn't working 50 to 60 hours per week, mostly 3rd shift, so I hardly ever saw my kids. Being blind sucks, and I feel guilty sometimes for thinking that I prefer it to how things were before, but given a choice. I don't think I'd go back to being sighted, because that would mean the nightmare of working and nursing again and never seeing my husband and my kids. Wow, that's wild. I never thought I'd read, "I'm grateful that I woke up blind" in my life. But whatever gives you better peace of mind is a good thing. I mean, I definitely wasn't grateful that first summer. I handled it horribly and stayed mostly drunk and in bed. Then, when I decided to learn to live with it, and that it was wrong to make my boys watch me fall apart while they practically waited on me hand and foot, I realized that being blind was not the end of the world, and that there were still a lot of things about life that made it great. I relearned how to cook, clean, sew, and all sorts of things. What really helped was moving from 30 miles into the backwoods, where I was truly trapped at home, to the village, where I could walk to my doctor and the grocery store and handle all of my business without help from anyone. Now I spend my days cooking and cleaning and walking several miles a day. And if it's dim enough outside, I can still see my phone if it's 3 inches away from my right eye, and play Pokemon Go with my youngest son. Story 13. The heavy feeling of being lonely. It's not there all the time, it just hits you like an anchor sometimes. Don't have too many friends, mostly because I can be a difficult person to put up with. And it's not like I want too many, just want some company sometimes. This hurts me because I experience it. I have a few people in my life and I don't feel like I have a connection with anyone. I don't always need one, but when the moment is right or wrong, I desire nothing more than just one person I can lean on who understands my quirks and accepts me. The loneliness is deafening at times. It's even worse when you lose all of those people who fill those roles. My wife was that person for me, and after she passed, my best friend also left my life, and he was like the only other person that truly got me. Finding new people since then, but it still sucks because it's just such a different kind of loneliness, where even if you're surrounded by people and social, God, do I have way too many friends and acquaintances, none of those people fill that same hole in your life. Learning to live with myself and my thoughts comfortably is an everyday struggle. I, too, blame my personality largely for it. I'm just high energy when compared to people half my age, and just don't vibe with the bar scene or anything we do in this rural community except enjoy nature. I work all weekends, single dad, musician, still lonely. Channeling that feeling into art seems to help. Y'all take care. We got this. Enjoy the moment of being here now. In case it's helpful, might be worth looking into attachment theory and/or working with a therapist on this dynamic. Your description sounds pretty familiar to me. I thought it was just how I was for a long time. It turns out I have a dismissive avoidant attachment style. For me, a lot of my coping strategies revolve around withdrawal and isolation. This includes tendencies towards irritability to push people away, though that was not a conscious choice generally. I have done a lot of introspection over the years, which has been helpful, and then over the last few years I learned about attachment theory and started working with a therapist and making a lot of progress. I had tried therapy a few times, previously without it really clicking at the time. I still have problems, but my social and emotional life got a lot better, and it was really interesting to start to see some of my patterns once I was able to notice them happening in closer and real time. Another thing for me that's been helping is getting my vitamin D levels up. Every time I get them tested, I am not actively supplementing them, they are low. I tend to feel less depressed and more social when those levels are up. Of course, YMMV, but just wanted to mention it because physiological things like that can make a difference too. Mid-40s guy here, and it's gotten much worse since the pandemic. I only have a few close friends, and they don't really live particularly close, and most everyone I know is married with kids. I'm not, but I have a social job where I see clients, all reasonably cool people, so I get plenty of interaction, and I love quiet, alone downtime. Unfortunately, it's far too much, and I am too depressed to try to make new friends. I've tried and failed a number of times in the last several years. On the surface, though, I wear the mask. Anyone who's been depressed long enough knows what I'm talking about. Story 14. I am so content and happy with my life, kids, wife, job, health, right now, that I feel guilty. I rarely share my contentment with people, other than my wife, because of it. It's not that I'm fabulously posh or don't have issues or whatever, I'm just sincerely content with my security and modest comforts. I feel like you can't simply acknowledge that your life is perfect without drawing the ire of someone else. We have glamorized pain and suffering, and so many people are struggling right now, so it's really hard to express contentment and joyfulness right now. My life is freaking awesome. We have worked so hard to finally get to this point in life, and I'm really reaping the benefits of lots of hard work. Lots more hard work down the line, and lots to complain about, but more to be grateful for. I've started gratitude journaling, thanking God for the many blessings. Love looking back and seeing how far we've come and how happy we were when things were much worse. Glad everything is going well for you. Jealousy or envy is a hard feeling to get rid of, but also we all have the ability to make the choice to be happy. The happy people I know in life all deserve it because they are wonderful people who choose to see the best in everything. They have a true fighting spirit because it happens, and their attitude is still unchanged. They are adaptable to their core, sometimes as a miserable/rigid person. It's hard to watch someone roll with the punches so easily. I want them to be miserable for some dark reason, but it's also really great to see, and a good example of why I should continue to try to be flexible, especially when I'm not getting my way. I feel this struggle. It's like some people can't be content. I know lots of folks like this who feel like they have to always be going through something, or hustling, or climbing to the next level, and then they wonder when they will get to relax and enjoy it. Like, sir, you need to slow down and smell the flowers. My spouse is sort of like this, in that they always need to be achieving the next thing, and it bothers them that I love the way my life is right now and want to enjoy it. Every day doesn't always need to be the grind for the next achievement or trophy. Story 15. I'm so lonely and depressed now after my divorce. I lost all my friends. I'm just waiting for my family to pass on, and then no one will even know I'm here. My dad lost everything in the divorce. Mom took him for a ride money-wise, lost the house and lots of assets, and was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer close after she blindsided him with the divorce. It's been 7 years and he's fully recovered, has an amazing girlfriend, got hella promoted at work, is in the clear cancer-wise, and is happier than ever. Just know it sucks now, but it can always get better. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you would like to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.